Some say Africa's golden era is gone. A time when great African kings and queens built their dreams into empires, stretching across the continent and beyond. But we say a new era is upon us. A new set of African kings and queens are on the rise. Driven by the same wealth of character as the kings and queens before them. Building new empires of enterprise with the right partnership. So rise up wherever you are, new kings and queens of Africa. Embrace your full potential and be proud of your heritage.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are y'all doing? Okay, so now we have a show for you. This is the New Africans, and we came up with this particular show, one, because we wanted to share the journey of what it meant to be a New African. And so we had a bunch of Africans in the building, and they're going to walk this step by step to share who they are. And then I was asked to say, hey, we would like to interact with some of the elders in the community to have that wisdom shared with us. And so I went asking to have somebody here who used to handle the our small group devotionals, where we are knocking the blocks down. And I went to a friend of mine, Karima, and I was asking my friend, Karima, I'm not going to say no names, Karima. As I was asking, I said, who could I call on? Somebody that is not normally up front, but has that power in them that can really talk and share their experiences of breaking through those constraints, those walls, to actually discover the divine self. And you know what my friend said, Karima? She called me and told me, she said, brother, you need to get Reverend Amina in the building. And I was like, what? She said, yes, let's get Reverend Amina in the building. How are you doing, Queen? How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm great this evening.
Now, I can say this, it's not only the stories I heard in terms of how much power you wielded in these experiences, but it's also you and I always do this. You know people by the fruit they bear. And so when I was looking at your daughter and your son, and I was like, wait a minute, who are these people? They were giants. Your children are giants within themselves, powerhouses in the Creator within themselves. And I'm sitting there like, wow, this is incredible. And then I met the dad, and we're not going to talk about the dad. But then I sat down and I see the mom, and I'm like, wait a minute, really? And so I always say that our first introduction to the community is always the meaning of our African name. So I'm going to ask you to say your whole African name and the meaning, if you can.
Okay, my full name is Amina Kabibi Molokai. And Molokai is my married African name. I was Amina Kabibi Naima, which meant peaceful little lady full of favor and grace. And now it's peaceful little lady who's more valuable than money. So kind of changed a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But I know that my husband said that Molokai actually meant like a witch doctor, you know. And so, you know, out of the white people's eyes, you know, a witch doctor was someone that was to be afraid of, you know, like witch, you know, witch doctor. But in essence, a witch doctor was someone that was highly acclaimed in the community because they had the wisdom and they had the power to move people, to change things. And so they were highly respected. And so I said, well, witch doctor doesn't, that doesn't sound too appealing to say that that's who you are. And so I say, well, I'll just assign it to be a priestess.
There we go.
Because that's the same thing, a priest, a witch doctor in the African community, bringing in the spirit. So that's how I see it. Peaceful little lady that's someone that's a priestess, trying to bring in the spirit.
A peaceful little lady who can bring in the spirit. Now, and talk about and so can you share us some any experiences or that journey toward becoming very revered in that nature of being able to help individuals bring in the spirit within inside themselves?
Well, first of all, you have to give homage to our patriarch, our founder of the church, Jaramogi Abebe Ajaman. And it was such a privilege for any one of us who are in my age group to have studied at his feet. You can compare it to being at the feet of Jesus. The wisdom, the teachings, the leadership, the knowledge. I mean, just all those things that you can say about Jaramogi Abebe. And so he came up with the concept in the 80s of doing these devotionals, these cool devotionals, wanted to bring the membership to a spiritual height that would help them to be aware of themselves, who we are as a person that can be used by God. That's what we're trying to do. Since we believe in God, and since we are trying to understand and get that baggage off of us that, through the acceptance of Black inferiority, we're trying to move to being self-determined, like we're doing right now during this Lenten season. Right. Absolutely. So that's very important, understanding who you are and knowing that God has given you everything you need to be the person that can be used to bring about his kingdom here on earth. It's already in you, but if you're not aware of it, then how do you become aware of who you are? And so the devotionals were set up to help us be able to discover our inner divinity. And I first started out, I had a dual participation in devotionals because we first started out, Jaramogi Abebe wanted to do it with the children. He said, children are innocent and they have a way that they can be connected without all the baggage, if you start with them young. So I started out being a Kua devotional leader with the Akibaland youth program. And then after I did it with them for years, then Jaramogi assigned me to be the adult group, one of the Kua devotional leaders. And so that was a little different because, like I say, with the children, they're innocent. You can kind of guide them more where they're less resistant, like, oh, I'm not going to do that, or I don't, see what's important about doing that. They were kind of under your tutelage. So you could guide them a little easier. With adults, they come with the baggage, like, well, I'm not going to reveal anything about myself in this meeting. I'm not sure that I'm interested in seeking the experience of God. So you got to break down all those barriers.
And with that,
Yes.
With that being said, and that's good because I want to bring in and I want to talk about those barriers and how we as a community continue to use our tools to break through those things. So I'm gonna bring in the new Africans and have them join the conversation.
Okay.
How's everybody doing?
Hey.
And if y'all will, please go around and let her know your names. Introduce yourselves.
Good evening, Reverend Amina. I am Najuma.
Okay, Najuma.
Go ahead, Nia.
Hello, I'm Nia.
Hi, Nia.
Brothers.
Kojo.
Kojo, take your mic off. Azola. Oh, he might be talking to
How
somebody.
How you doing, family? How you doing, sister? I'm Kojo.
All right, Kojo.
Now in the space, and we see Azola is actually, he said he was at training, so he's going to be in and out. So we appreciate him coming into the conversation. Now I'm going to ask, can you, because we talked about children being innocent. We're going to wrap around. We're going to add that, speak on that some more. But I want you to explain the innocence of children, and then you had you said the adults come with baggage. Can you speak on the conditioned self versus the divine self, and how we're trying to get people from that conditioned experience to that divine experience, and how the small group devotionals, the concept of the small group devotionals work toward that with the discourses and all?
Yeah, with the discourses, you're telling the story that a person can relate to in terms of a biblical story to help them understand spiritually and religiously, what it takes to be a person that's filled with the spirit of the divine energy that's within us, the cosmic energy and creative intelligence that's already in us. But because of conditioning, how we have been taught in all of the learned experiences that we've had being in a society that seeks to oppress us, how do you get rid of that? How do you get rid of self-hate? How do you get rid of not trusting another brother or sister? How do you get rid of not being your true self and being a person that can have a positive impact on your brother or sister to help them in a situation? Or if we're trying to work together to do different projects and you don't trust anybody, how can you put your whole self into getting these projects completed in a positive way? How do you rid yourself of distrust and all of those different things that help to separate us, because it's learned, if someone has done it to you, then do you do it back to somebody else, or do you try to change it and say, this is not the way that God wants me to be. This is not how God made me. So am I going to be a seeker? So the first thing in a devotional is that you have an invocation. If you don't invite God into what we're trying to attempt in the devotional, then how can we have a positive and a experiences that changes us to be a better person? So you got to have that invocation. You got to say, we need you, Lord, come into this holy place, Lord, right now. We seek thee. We seek thee, O Lord, right now. You got to bring God into the situation. You got to bring God into the ritual. And so you have that chant. And so by the time you leave invoking God into the ritual, then you have that discourse where you're telling the story that will help you understand why it is you need to change and to understand better how you are already equipped to be a person that can do the work of the Lord. So
now, group, so the first question for you guys is, has your understanding of yourself changed in this journey? So before you walked into the building to where you are at this particular point, because I had no clue of the conditioned self. I had no clue of the tendencies that I had that is dubbed to be Eurocentric. You know, last week we talked about the need for African history, African culture, African tradition, and being able to find our identity in our history. And so now we're looking at that spiritual process of it. Have y'all had a scenario where you see yourselves different way before you know, or are you in line with that vision versus the condition? And do you see any tendencies of being conditioned by the world? Has your understanding of yourself changed since this journey?
I can go first. So, of course, yes, I would say definitely has changed. And I think kind of what Reverend Amina has really tapped into is, unlike Western religions and, you know, doctrines, there is a separation in the Western world of the divinity and seeking God first, separating you from God. So I think understanding that first was important for me. Well, recognizing that. And then I think that has evolved in just my daily dealings. And so I'll be vulnerable and say that, yeah, there are still some conditionings that are on me. And that's just very little things, because I think when you think about African spirituality, you think about most of the time your faith, and your life is your faith, and your faith is your life. So if you have an understanding of that, you know that it will show up in your life on how you deal with people. It will show up on your life of how you pray. What do you do when you get up in the morning? I had a tendency, I'm getting up on Facebook because I'm consumed with looking up, you know, social media and being involved in what gossip is going on, or, hey, let me be materialistic and look up Amazon. Just so in that sense, those things that we don't think about that become idols and rituals that we actually do that we don't even realize are rituals has completely changed. And I think that first step for me was tapping into kind of that ancestral wisdom, and then also like holistically being well-being, like mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
So doing away with first recognizing like the traumas that I've dealt with, and being okay to say that I have to release that in order to gain to be my highest self, has helped me for when they do trigger me. There are certain things that trigger me.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have the tools now of how to deal with it, and not go into being individualistic. I'm calling on a friend, I'm texting somebody to get that communal accountability and support. So it definitely has changed. Even I can say within the last 6 months, I feel like I am pulling more into my divine self. I think the first step was a year ago, joining the church, making the decision to want to be a part of a community like this. But it wasn't just because it was like, oh, this is a nice church to go to. No, it was that, I think I shared it, of understanding, remembering who you really are, and understanding that divinity is within. Yeah. And I also wanted to be like my kids, because I think you made a valid point. Kids don't have baggage. We talked a little bit about this last week. When you are socialized, the first people that socialize you are your parents. When you go out to school, then you go out into social media. Now social media, right? And so many different things that can shape a child's mind. But if they have, like I just said, the resources and the tools to tap in within that divine self, I get jealous sometimes because I do, have certain things around my house. I go to my altar, my children are involved with that. And for them to be so much connected and not have to ask questions, they don't ask, they just fall in line. And then they have a deeper understanding. Um, I get like, man, I need to check myself because there have been times that I have been tremendously resistant to even recognizing my divinity. But my kids, they got that stuff down. So that's for the conditioning. When I recognize the conditioning is still there. So yeah.
All right, Kojo. Have you the understanding of yourself changed once you started this journey?
Yeah, I can say that. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can say it changed because I once learned this word and it was so profound to me. It was called solidarity, and that's belonging. I knew what I had inside and what I have read and what I accumulated, of the motherland. But when I come as a collective with the family, the shrine number 9, and all the rest of the shrines, because sometimes we Zoom and we got family members everywhere. I remember one Sunday we had some family members from South Carolina, and it was just a joy just to see our family came up that road to us and got back home and things. So it just for one common cause, and the cause is there's nothing more sacred than the liberation of Black people.
That's right.
And it's so amazing because I have aunts, I have children, I have friends, and I have so many people that, I always say to myself, well, sometimes say to myself, if we could just all get it together on one accord, the sky's the limit what we can do. And, I just thank God I've learned so many things that I never knew, so yeah, I could say, and I feel good. I have a family, I have a church, I have a home, and I'm steady meeting my family. I'm meeting you tonight, thank God, and it's just amazing. I love to see my people. I love to see people getting it together, getting it right. So yeah, and my family, they love me back. I get so much love from my family when I come to, and you get the word, you get fed. I get knowledge that I could take to somewhere else. I remember one Sunday, and it just amazed me because I could have been put these words together coming up, but Reverend said, like, if you keep putting love in the world, and I'm paraphrasing, it's like a raindrop just dripping from the roof, and the sun come out, and the raindrops is falling into a cup. Now, if that cup catch enough raindrops, it's gonna overflow. But we never know which drop. Like maybe you kept accountability, but I probably couldn't understand which drop made that cup overflow.
That cup overflow. So you keep dropping. So you just keep adding more and more love until that love transitions into a full cup and it overflows. That's a beautiful, beautiful analogy. Yeah. Sister Nia. Did she freeze?
Yes.
Nia.
Okay. Did I freeze?
No, you was sitting there, you was doing something. You was doing something. Has your understanding of yourself. You trying to get it down.
I'm trying. Especially since, I switched to AT&T, y'all. It's not over here. What can I say? And an old laptop.
You need some more time to get your notes together.
No, I have my notes. I have my thoughts. Could you repeat the question one more time, please?
Has your understanding of yourself changed since starting this journey? We earlier talked about the conditions.
Say yes. Okay, I would say yes, and I believe I am currently changing, and my change has been with intent. So I came and I decided to join the church, the shrine, because I was looking to move in my divine self spiritually. I believe that I have always been moving in my purpose. That's my name. It means purpose.
Yes.
And that's my birth given name.
Yes.
So I have always, and even without understanding that as a child, I still took paths that led me to that. So I've always, with the guidance of my parents, who've always been knowledgeable and pro-Black and just very aware and realistic of where we come from and what lies ahead. So I've always been on that path. So even and I'm an only child, so being independent and being able to move without the acceptance of others has always been normal for me. I've never been scared of doing that. Just never been an issue. But I always find that my prayers have always been, God, I want to hear you. I want to hear you, or I want to hear and I want to acknowledge it, because even if I hear it, doesn't mean I'm going to do it. So I want to hear it, and I want to move in that. Oh, am I? No. Okay. I want to move in that divine spirit within my purpose. And I find that coming from community and giving back. My brother Daryl, he always told me, hey, you need to make sure you get back. And I'm like, I give back. I have community centers and stuff. Like, I give back on a day-to-day. But I need to give back with moving through Christ, through God, or in the eye of God, as in my best divine self. So that is how, I don't know how much y'all caught of that. That is how I've started to change in the effort, putting more effort into moving in my divine self.
I know for
Christ,
just to share
in my church community.
And just to share with you guys, and I never want y'all, I'm always gonna put y'all on the spot, but I'll also just be as vulnerable as well. I know when I grew up with the understanding that it's the strongest to survive. So I'm gonna be the troublemaker. I'm gonna be the fighter. I'm gonna be everything loud that I can possibly be, because I was gonna make it home. You know, I remember growing up, you would see guys running through the neighborhood with no pants, no shoes, they tighty whities and they socks on because they just got robbed. And I was like, I dare you to rob me. I dare you to rob my sister, my brothers. I was going to fight everybody and anybody. And when I got to church, I was that little person that believed that there was nothing I couldn't do. And in this, what changed me was the fact that I was being fearless from a state of individualism. Mm-hmm. But then learning how to be fearless in the state of God and communalism, where I don't have to wait for someone to tell me what to do. The minute that I get the urge that God is saying, go this way, I'm just going to pick up and I'm going to just go, and I'm going to do what I'm called to do. And one of my key phrases in my awakening was, I can only be who I was called to be. I will never be anything less than what God has called me to be and called me to produce. And so even in this space is like that, where I sat down and I heard the need of the new Africans wanting to have a strong voice and interact with the community, and then shared the journey with the greater community. I sat down and I was told, get it done, Ajay. And I always move in purpose, in God, in fearlessness. Instead of doing it for the sake of just individualism, I do for the sake of communalism and the growth of the Black community, Black nation. Now, Reverend Amina, you spoke on the small group devotionals And has there been anything since the beginning of the development? Because we now have the understanding of the best self theology. Has there anything been added? Any new practices that we haven't had before that we have added or that we've expanded on in that journey to having individuals go from that conditioned self to the divine self?
Just moving, you know, our new effort to becoming your best self, you know, trying to understand and to bring others into that understanding of what that means, your best self. What really is your best self? Your best self is connecting to that inner divinity and creative intelligence that's already within you. You know, understanding that individualism is not only not beneficial to us, it's evil. Being individualistic, just thinking about yourself. You weren't put here on this earth to just think about yourself. God created us to be a communal person. That's what he did for African people. You know, other indigenous people, they understand that concept as well. Communalism, working together, group effort, the group being more important than what your individual needs might call you to try to take care of. You know, you do have needs as a living person, but when we're speaking about your divine self, and when we're speaking about connecting to God, that means that it's not just yourself, that you're involved with other people, and you are needed to have a connection with other people. And so you're not just, you know, out there like you all have, some of you have indicated, you know, that you have children. I have 4, you know, and
powerhouses.
Yep, I have 4, and I was their I was 2 of their group leaders in the church. So I was one of the few parents in the whole church that actually was there with my children as I taught, you know, other children in the church. You know, I was with my own children, you know, trying to instill in them the values of the church and the values of what it is to be a person that's connected to doing the will of God and following in the footsteps of Jesus. All these things, you know, might sound like, you know, rote, but there is something that you have to keep telling yourself. When you come in contact with a person, are you Jesus to them? Do they see Jesus through you? You know, whether it's in your behavior, whether it's in your interaction with them, do they see Jesus in you? Can you say that?
Can they see the Messiah consciousness?
Yes.
Wow.
That's something that could be very simple as just telling a person, have a good day. Asking a person how they feel, you know, listening to a person. All those things help people come out of themselves and feel like this is a good place to be. This world is a good place to be. Everything is not, you know, turned upside down. That there are people out there that care about me, and I should be caring about other people, you know, what's happening, and, you know, working together to be an upliftment to my fellow brother or sister, you know. And it's just some things that it comes easier. It depends on what environment, like Wallenwood Jay was saying, you know, just how you grew up. Like I grew up as an only child, like Nia, you know, and I went to an all-black school, though. That was one thing. Now that is exceptional, yeah, because you know, I went to school. I graduated from high school in 1967. So And then
I don't think any of us was here yet.
Nope. I tell you, Wednesday is my birthday, and I will happily be 74 years old.
Woo! Happy birthday to ya! Happy birthday to ya! Wow.
Yes, and I've been in the church for out of those 74 years, I've been in the church 48 years this year.
Wow.
And I came in with my oldest daughter. She was 3.5 when I joined. So she's been in the church, a member 48 years as well. And then I actually had 3 children in the church. So it's been an experience, but I wouldn't change a thing.
What thing?
I wouldn't change a thing. And when I finished college, it's like when I came back, I'm from Houston, and that's where I joined. In Houston, I was one of the early members. So I was 26 when I joined the church. But I came into the church around you all's age. So I'm 74. I've seen a lot of members come in and go out, but the ones that have stayed, all of those are the people that I'm very close to. I have close relationships because I know members in Houston, of course, and I know members in Detroit because my husband is from Detroit, and he's been a member of the church for 52 years. So it's a long time that we've been around. And it's like I know members, of course, in Atlanta, and I live here at Beulah Land. So I'm your South Carolina connection, Kojo. I'm your family. Yes.
We're definitely going to have both of y'all on, you and Major on here one time and talk about what it takes to raise a family in the Black nation. That's definitely a conversation.
Yes, that was something that it takes a strong person, because both of us, that's one thing. When you have a relationship in the church, you have to join the church because that's what you want. Because if you come into the church because you're involved with someone, but that relationship doesn't last, then you have to be strong enough this is where you want to be. And that doesn't always happen. And for us as a family, Reverend Molokai, we at one time, he commuted back to Houston. So I was there in Houston with the children doing devotionals and being a group leader, and he was assigned to Atlanta. And then and so he would commute back and forth to Houston. And then in 2000, right when I know y'all don't know about Y2K either, but that's right when we had just gotten Beulah Land. And so Jaramogi Abebe said, well, we got to get the children out the city. And so that's when the children came out, and you had the Beulah Land cadre. They came out and were raising the children and everything. And so he was trying to get me to come. And so my son was still in high school, and when he finished, I didn't have a reason to say I couldn't come to Beulah Land. I've been out here 20 years this year. So been out here 20 years this year.
We're going to talk, that's going to be definitely a part of the conversation, the need to create land and being able to feed, clothe, and house ourselves in the process of
that's part of that self-determination.
You have to have that inside the journey to understanding the divine self, because if you're not self-determined, you're not truly experiencing what it is to function from your inner divinity.
Right. And like we said, we are, God has given us everything that we need to be a soldier for the Lord. You know, we have everything. Is how we use it, how we understand it, how we try to, as Najuma said that we have to just be aware and we have to make a decision. That's the one thing that we were given above all other creation, is that we have the will to decide. So you have to decide what it is you want, how important it is. And when you're raising a family, you know how important it is to have a foundation that's going to help them, you know. And as the world is changing, that's one thing. Again, I mean, it's just been so many concepts that we've had to deal with in the church, you know. And one of them was, if you can't deal with change, it's hard to be in the nation, because things change all the time.
Often.
You know, you come in one day and we're doing one thing, and next 2 days we're doing something else. And you say, well, I just got, you know, excited about doing. Well, we're not doing that anymore. We're doing this. And you got to be able, without, you know, saying, well, I'm not ready for that. You know, you got to go and
you just got to get ready.
You got to get ready and just move on, you know, because what we're doing, like we said, nothing is more sacred than the liberation of Black people. So whatever you do, that's the measurement. If it's good
for Black people,
struggle, it's good. And if it's not good. So, you know, we're trying to bring together God's people in a way that God created us to live, and that's communally, with love, with community with each other, and practicing the methods that will help us stay in tune with ourselves and with God. And, you know, and the meditation.
One of the things I want to add, because I can branch off to that, the question to the group, in terms of methods to use to bring you to a higher sense of self. So have you encountered any new spiritual or ancestral practices that you've incorporated since you started down this journey? Anybody have any new spiritual? Yeah, speak on it, Nia.
All of them. All of them. I believe the Sunday before last was the first time, even though I've always known about Ash Wednesday, it was the first time I've actually had ashes placed on my forehead. My middle name, Ife, was the first time, you know, I've been giving a name outside of my name. And I believe that was like, I know there are like 2 or 3 in the Bible whose name
was changed.
But I believe Paul was one of them, correct? Am I correct? It's been, I might need
Abraham.
Yeah, it went from Abram.
Sarah, his wife.
And so a lot of okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm not too far off. Okay. But so a lot of the Orthodox traditions mixed in with the African traditions have been very, very comforting, very confirming that I'm here and I exist, and this is where I'm supposed to be at. And also just feeling back to myself. So I enjoyed all of them because I've learned about some of like the Orthodox, the Christian church traditions, but to incorporate like the saying of our ancestors' names and different things like that has just been what I've always felt inside of me. So to come somewhere and to have it done, it's like, yes, finally, somebody make it make sense, you know, like, thank you. Like, so I've been enjoying all of that. And I plan to continue to use those methods.
Now, Juma, has there been any new practices, spiritual practices or ancestral practices that you've been experiencing or you've incorporated in your daily life?
Yeah, so I think that I kind of touched on this a little bit in regards to building an actual altar. growing up, that was completely taboo in my family. In fact, I don't even think my mother has come to my home since I built my altar. So that'd be funny. That's gonna be a very big discussion we're gonna have to have. And it was just what triggered me. And I know I'm a
it's right there too, like bam.
It's right walking to the door. Oh, okay.
It's like, oh.
Nia has been to my house, obviously, y'all. But I'm gonna come back to your question, Reverend Ajay. But I was triggered when Nia said, "Hey, the fact that we actually do recognize our ancestors, that part of that ancestral veneration." Mm-hmm. It made me think of it like, again, it's so taboo. You shouldn't be doing that. All this. But it's like we've been doing that our whole life. Because when you sitting in the school, they talking about George Washington, they talking about Abraham Lincoln and Christopher Columbus, and we are venerating the ancestors that mean us no good. Mm-hmm. Like, they mean completely harm to us, and we're keeping their spirits alive. So why wouldn't we recognize the individuals that have given us power and actually fought for us to be free from oppression, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's an important practice that I incorporate daily. I am constantly talking to my grandmother. I'm constantly recognizing my grandfather. Even the first time I ever did a ritual, I said my grandmother's father's name, K.C. Carey. And the flicker of the candle, and it was like, so just to say that, who's to say maybe not another one of his because I'm his great grandchild, probably has never said his name, recognized him, or called upon his strength. So me then going back to ask my mom, what did your grandfather do? And her saying, he was very boisterous, and he was a sharecropper, and he was from Texas, and he only had one child, which was his, my grandmother. Mm-hmm. So to recognize that when I'm feeling like I need to have strength because I got two boys, let me tell you something. I'm sometimes called K.C. Carey. I'd be like, K.C., because she tells me the story about how her grandfather would get on her and her brothers and sisters, and there was 12 of them. So if I only got 2 or 3, and 2 of them, gets to be, if he can get 12 in line, I need to call his spirit, right? Right. So I am doing that. I'm like, hey, KC, give me something to say to these little boys and calm them down. And I'm telling you, sometimes I will hear myself say things, and I'm like, that sounds like something Mary would say, my grandmother. Mm-hmm. So I think recognizing that ancestral veneration is so important in my life, and it's so important now in my children's life. My daughter just went on a trip to New York, and she texted me in the bathroom. She said, Mommy, there was a devil sign in the bathroom. And I said, well, what did you do? She said, I started praying, and I started calling on my ancestors to protect me. Right. So I'm like, okay, whatever I'm doing, whatever we are doing within the community is showing up for her to be a different being. Yes. And I think, I wrote, because I was journaling earlier, and I said, I've learned to trust the unseen forces that shape my path. So there have been times where I know for a fact in my life I have been so disobedient and rebellious against the Creator. But I know what that feels like to be out in the world and not be connected. And I know what choices that I've made and that have caused some good and caused some bad, right? But to actually respect that and to learn to trust it that's something different spiritually for me, because before I'm always questioning it. Now I'm living in that, operating out of that knowing of I got to trust trust the unforeseen things. And then I know that when I do hear God calling to be obedient, and has led me to different things that come up and show up in my life in different blessings. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yes, it
How?
is.
Yeah. How you say? What are the other things that you see when you say you're adding these practices, and what are the things that you see in your children that are changing?
What did I see in my life?
In your children that are changing.
Everything. Their prayer life, not just the middle boy, the younger one, wanting to add into that, understanding that they can meditate and calm themselves down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the way that they have an understanding of nature,
Mm-hmm.
even picking up a flower is different for them. Not killing a bug. What are they watching on television? My mom's like, your kids is weird. They look up stuff on YouTube and watch. They be watching like about like African history. Like we were in
out of Africa. Was it out of blackness, out of darkness? Out of the darkness is their favorite. Yeah.
And they're 7 and 9, and they were like, literally, we were sitting in church on Sunday, and my baby said, "Mommy, when we get home, can we watch? I didn't even know that there's a new Out of the Darkness
version,
and they know that it's a third one, and it's on HBO Max. Just shouting that out, but like my baby knew, like so." Not wanting to watch certain things, crying when they're seeing violence. And they are boys, so they always hit each other or something like that.
All the time.
So just that way. I think also how they show up at school, them understanding the God within them is a big one. I talk about this every week, but them experiencing children's church, them understanding, I think even, on Saturday, my calling has been to youth ministry. And so working with them on Saturday, we're doing a communications class, and Reverend Ajay is up there and he's speaking to them. He's saying something about the God science, and the baby corrected him. It was like, no, it's engineering and it's math. You are God's math. And it was just like the teacher was being
what was happening. No, let me correct that. It's science, technology. You are God's, and when I teach them, they are God's science. Mm-hmm. They are God's technology. They are God's engineering. They are God's artwork. And they're God's mathematics. They are the steam of God. And he said, excuse me, Reverend Ajay, yes, you forgot we're God's agriculture, right? And I said, the A can be used for art or agriculture. I just chose not to use it at that moment, little man. Yeah, but I mean, like, gotta say agriculture. I understand.
Yeah, so I mean that shows up for them. Really their behavior, and I think their understanding of just how they move, like just the way they move differently. And I know that like as a mom, I'm very honest like with my kids about like their behavior. I could say that they were a little mannish, very mannish last year, but they have truly, I'm proud. They have made me a proud mom to be really learning alongside them in this journey, because when I see it in them, it makes me feel so much fuller.
It does that. It definitely does that. We're heading to the end. We got a little overtime. Reverend, is there anything that you could say as they go to help them continue on this journey? Any good words?
No, I'm thinking that they're following the right path just by listening to their comments and everything. And it's just a pleasure, and it's an honor to be able to see and hear the younger generation. Like I said, I'll be 74, so somebody's got to come behind, and be able to take over the responsibilities of building a Black nation with power and teaching our children and being self-determined. When Jaramogi Kimathi was preaching on Bilakuta this week, that's what he was saying, that this was a very special Lenten season, and we're dealing with Kujichagulia, self-determination. And so we know that at some point things are going to have to move to the next generation, for real, And so it's just good, and it's a very good feeling to know that we have the good hands and the good minds and the good spirits of those who you don't know everything, but you are trying to learn something every day. And that you do understand that when God calls you, you need to answer. And so where you are now is where God wants you to be. And we pray that you continue to strengthen your faith and that God continues to move you in his divine direction. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And Ashe.
We're
going to come visit you on Beulah Land.
What you say?
We're going to come visit you on Beulah Land.
Yes.
Next month. Don't they have something next month for the anniversary?
The anniversary, I guess.
Next month is there might be something where Atlanta might be coming to visit.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there may be something set up where Atlanta may be coming to visit during the month. I haven't gotten the.
Don't quote that, because
not in general, because I haven't gotten the agenda. I hadn't got the complete agenda for the
new member.
The new Well, y'all can make a run for it.
It's going to be the homecoming, so you will be coming out here in June for sure.
Yeah.
So, but Reverend Molokai and I will be on that 25th to the 27th, because he's a part of the Atlanta College cadre. He helped start. He was part of the college cadre, so we'll be in Atlanta for that. So I'll see you all. I'll be glad to see you.
We appreciate that. Yeah,
it was definitely an honor, y'all, letting me speak to you this evening, and God bless you, and God shower you with the strength and the faith to move forward and to keep the faith, and to just understand that each day, each opportunity is another opportunity for you to come closer to being your divine self. All you have to do is be open and to ask God, say, I don't know all about this right now, but I'm here to learn, and I'm ready to put my faith out there and just step out there and know that this is what you would have me do. So, I just feel, just talking and speaking with you and listening to you, like I said, I feel good. I feel good about the next generation taking over the reins that we have built, because first we started with the 300 in 1953 with Jaramogi Abebe. Then we moved to the next generation. Now everybody, I believe, everybody that walked out of St. Mark's with Jaramogi Abebe is deceased now.
Wow.
Now everybody with Jaramogi Kimathi, we're all in our 70s and 80s. So
and in here, one of the things Deja Naba said, which was and I didn't know, because as I invite people in, because Deja Naba came in on the Keebland Inspirational Sunday, so I also I live streamed the youth services, and as I was talking to her, she got emotional because I didn't know that she was one of the individuals that helped start a Keebland.
Yeah.
And so she's telling me her story, and she said, I've been holding this plow for so long because I didn't see what was coming behind me. So I was not going to let this plow go. And so she says, I'm going to hold on and I'm going to continue plowing until I know what's coming, because I ain't letting it go until this is going to be hand. And so she looked at me and she said, Jay, with all that you're doing with the youth and all you're doing in the community, I don't get emotional. When she says, you know, you make me feel like it'll be okay when it's my turn to transition.
Right.
You know,
right.
and so, you know, I remember telling Mwenda during COVID, he said, brother, if we ain't recording, you know, we doing funerals. And I said, man, I know personal individuals, you know, the generation before me. I said, I see nothing but powerhouses. Nothing but powerhouses surrender to God and the development of the Black nation. And I said, I'm already caught up. They ain't got to worry about nothing, because I'm not going nowhere till it's my turn to transition. And as I can bring usher in the new Africans. And so I appreciate y'all coming in, and we'll see you next week. Next week we'll be talking about the culture. Today's going into the divine self in today's culture, African culture of yesterday to the liberation struggle of before, into this new culture, and how does that looking for you, right? So it's a whole new thing, because we have a lot of people embracing who we are, but very few people are building a Black nation. You know, and so we'll talk about that next week. All right,
y'all.
All right. Ashe.
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 All right. Ashe.